Hello students, today we are going to discuss the principle of surveying. The fundamental principle upon the various methods of terrain surveying are based on very simple nature and can be stated under the following two aspects. Now we have two principles of surveying. First one is working from whole to part, and second one is location of a point by measurement from 2 points of reference. Now we will see one by one each and every principle in detail, starting with the working from whole to part. Now according to this principle, the major control points, that is boundary line of a survey area, are plotted with higher degree of accuracy, and then with their reference minor details are plotted. It means that first of all we need to plot the outer boundary of the area very accurately. After that we need to plot the minor details inside the area. So if any mistake has taken place inside the survey area, then it will get minimized when we work from whole to part. Now suppose that we had taken a case of a area of size 40 feet into 60 feet, which is shown here as well as here. Here is an area of 40 feet into 60 feet, which is divided into three plots of 40 feet into 20 feet, 40 feet into 20 feet, and 40 feet into 20 feet. Now suppose that the first plot construction is already done. Now this plot construction is already done, and the second plot owner wants to construct a house, that is this plot owner. So he will hire an engineer. During starting of the construction work, engineer will do the layout work from part to whole. It means that he will not mark the outer boundaries first, he will plot the minor details first. Suppose that he want to mark the layout of two rooms of 10 feet into 10 feet. So he has done the layout of the first room, and during this layout work he has done a mistake of 1 feet. Suppose that he wants to measure 10 feet into 10 feet, but by mistake he will measure this distance as 11 feet. Now he has marked 11 feet and written it as 10 feet on the sheet. Now he has plotted other room also, that is 10 feet into 10 feet, and he will enter the neighbor's property. So he will now enter the property of the neighbor, for which he has need to pay the compensation for entering into the property of the neighbor. But if he would choose the layout work from whole to part, firstly he will plot the outer boundaries of the area, and then with this reference line he will plot the minor details. Okay, so if he would choose the layout work from whole to part, first he will mark the outer boundaries like this, and then he will plot the rooms. Now suppose that during the layout work of first room, if he has done a mistake of 1 feet, suppose that during the measurement of first room, if he has done a mistake of 1 feet, instead of 10 feet measurement, suppose that he has measured 11 feet as done before, then he will compensate it by marking the other room as 10 feet into 9 feet. Now during the measurement of second room, he get an information that he had done a mistake during the first room measurement. Instead of 10 feet he had measured 11 feet. Okay, so he will compensate this 1 feet mistake by just marking this second room as 9 feet into 10 feet. So if the working is from whole to part, then the mistake is done in our property, so we don't need to pay any compensation to the neighbor. But if we will move from part to whole, then we need to pay the compensation to the neighbor. So always work from whole to part. That is our first principle of surveying. Okay students, now the second principle of surveying is location of a point by measurement from two points of reference. Now suppose that this P and this Q point is already known and the distance between P and Q is already known. So we had measured the line PQ like this. Now suppose that we want to measure this point R from these two reference points, it is P and Q. Now suppose that ground is flat, so we can easily measure the distance between P and R as well as Q and R. So we will measure the distance by the chain or with the help of tape. Now distance PR and QR can be measured and point R can be plotted by swinging the two arcs to the same scale to which PQ has been plotted. Now in sheet, when we plot this whole P, Q and R, we need to take a scale. Now after measurement of distance on the ground, that is PR and QR, we need to convert this distance PR and QR according to our scale, and we will swing the two arcs first like this. From P we will mark an arc like this, and from Q we will mark another arc like this. Now during the intersection point of these two arcs, we will get our third point, that is R point. So in this way we had marked or we had located point R. Now this principle is very much used in chain surveying. So it is also known as principle of chain surveying. Okay students. Now again we have the information of P and Q as well as the distance PQ. So we had plotted it. Now we need to plot the point R or station R, but from P the ground is not plane as well as the point R is not visible from P as well as from Q. So we will not measure distance PR and QR. Now we have to use a cross staff now, and by holding the cross staff and moving over the PQ line, we will take the perpendicular offset from the PQ. Now when we get a perpendicular offset which will intersect the point R, then we will stop at that point and we will measure the distance from station P. Suppose that this station is S, so we will measure the distance PS and we will plot it on our sheet, and we will measure the distance SR also and we will plot this on our sheet. So a perpendicular RS can be dropped on the reference line PQ and length PS and SR are measured. The point R can then be plotted using set square. This principle is used in defining details and this is known as offsetting. The first method in which PR and QR are easily measurable, then we called it as chain surveying or principle of chain surveying. And in this method, when we use the cross staff and when we plot the offset, then this method is known as offsetting. Now the next one is, we have the 2 points information, that is P and Q station information, as well as the distance PQ is already known. So we had plotted this PQ line on our sheet. Now from P and from Q, our station is visible, but due to the inclined ground level, we will not be able to measure the distance PR and QR. So with the help of compass, we will get the angle from P, that is beta angle, as well as alpha angle from Q. Now we will draw two lines, that is one from P and one from Q, at an angle of beta and at an angle of alpha. Now when these two lines intersect at one point, then the intersection point is known as station R. So in this way we will locate the station R by just measuring the two angles on the two known stations. Now this method is very commonly used in compass surveying. Now the next one is we have the information of P and Q as well as the length PQ is already known. So we will plot this line on our sheet. Now from P station, R is not visible, as well as we cannot measure a distance PR, because some river is flowing from this region, so we will not be able to measure the distance PR as well as the angle from the P. But from Q station we can easily measure the distance QR as well as we can easily measure the angle alpha. We will measure the angle alpha as well as distance QR and we will plot it on our sheet. When we mark a line at an angle of alpha and when we cut this line to the corresponding distance of the ground, that is QR, we will get our third point, that is R. Now this method is commonly used in traversing. Now the next one is, suppose that P and Q is already known and PQ distance is already known. So we will plot this PQ line on our sheet. Now from P we can easily measure the distance between P and R. So we will measure the distance P and R and we will plot this on our sheet. And suppose that from Q we cannot measure the distance QR because of some obstruction, but we can easily measure the angle alpha. So we will measure the angle alpha and we will plot a line from Q at an angle of alpha degree. Now when this line will intersect the line PR, then we will get our third station, that is station R, and this principle is also used in traversing. Now that is all about the principle of surveying. We had completely covered this topic. Thank you very much, students.